Your voice up. Maybe would please state your name and spell it.
Yes, sir. Detective Brian Showers, BRINSHOWERS.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. What do you do for a living?
Good morning, sir. Detective for East Point Police Department.
And how long have you been a officer with the East Point Police Department?
For over 6 years.
And how long have you been a detective?
For the past 3.5 years.
And were you so employed as a detective back in January of 2022?
I was.
And as part of your role as a detective with the East Point Police at that time, did you have some involvement into the investigation into Zion Foster's disappearance?
I did.
And as part of your role in that investigation, did anything significant happen in terms of the investigation on January 17th of 2022?
Yes.
And what was it, sort of in general terms, that you were doing that day?
Yes, on January 17th, 2022, I was conducting surveillance at 94 Stegman Lane in Pontiac. That was the confirmed location of a white Acura TL belonging to Jaylin Brazier.
Okay, and what was your purpose of conducting surveillance at that particular location?
We were conducting surveillance to see if Jaylin Brazier was in the area in connection with the disappearance of Zion Foster.
Okay, and at that point, did you have a search warrant to seize that particular Acura?
I did.
Okay. And what happened, I guess, that day when you were at that location?
Yes, at 6 o'clock in the morning, we conducted surveillance at that location. After several hours of no movement in and around the vehicle, at approximately 10 a.m., a tow truck was dispatched to our location to impound that vehicle pursuant to a search warrant.
Okay, and was that vehicle ultimately seized and towed away?
It was. And
do you happen to recall the license plate of that vehicle?
I do not.
Okay. If you would it help your recollection if you did you draft a report?
I did.
Of this?
Yes.
If you looked at some photographs of that vehicle, would you recognize the license plate?
I would.
Have a moment. And Judge, can I ask the witness to approach counsel table just briefly to look at, it's going to be part of proposed exhibit 25, which hasn't been admitted yet, but will be through another witness.
All right, Mr. Curley, do you want to go over this?
Excellent.
Go ahead.
Yes, that appears to be the license plate.
Okay. And having taken a look at the photo of the license plate, do you now recall what the plate was?
I believe it was Edward George Henry 6844.
Okay. Can you take another look at that?
Oh, my mistake.
And what was the license plate?
Yes, it's Edward George Henry 6644.
Okay, so EGH 6644.
That is correct.
Okay, and when that vehicle was towed away, was anybody in the vehicle?
At the moment that the vehicle was towed away, there was somebody that had approached the vehicle. Yes.
Okay, but nobody's in it obviously when it's being towed away. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And where did the vehicle go from there?
It went to the East Point City Woods Towing.
Okay, and was it secured in some way there?
It was.
Okay, and was it ultimately searched at some point?
It was.
And did you help participate in that search?
I did.
And was that the same day or another day?
That was subsequent to the impound 2 days later on the 19th.
Okay. On the 17th, when you were at that area in Pontiac, did you have contact with any people?
I did.
Who did you have contact with?
Yes, approximately 10 a.m. when the tow truck arrived on scene, Mr. Brazier was observed exiting unit number 48, running to the vehicle and entering the driver's seat of the vehicle.
Okay, and at some point, did you have some interaction with Mr. Brazier?
I did. I detained Mr. Brazier on scene. A cell phone that was a Samsung Galaxy S21 black in color was recovered from his person.
Okay, and did you have an opportunity to hold on to that phone?
I did.
And what did you do with the phone once you obtained it?
After I obtained the cell phone, Mr. Brazier consented to a search of the cell phone, provided me the passcode to his cell phone, and signed a written consent to search of the cell phone.
Okay, and did you do anything in particular with the phone itself?
Yes, the phone was turned over to the officer in charge, Detective Reinhold.
Okay, and I'm holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 24. Can I approach you, Your Honor?
Yes.
I want you to take a look at People's Proposed Exhibit 24. Does that look familiar to you?
It does.
And does that, what's your basis of familiarity with that object?
This was the cell phone that I recovered from Mr. Brazier's person. on the
And
17th.
Does that appear to be in substantially the same condition it was in when you made that recovery from him on January 17th? Of
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 24.
Okay. Submitted.
And I want to ask, when you're referring to Mr. Brazier, do you happen to see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
And could you just briefly point to him and describe what he's wearing?
Yes, he's seated to the left of defense counsel wearing a blue jacket with a blue shirt and blue tie.
Thank you. If the record could reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
So reflected.
And you said the vehicle was searched on January 19th, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you participate in that search?
I did.
And who else participated in that search?
Yes, on the 19th I met MSP K9 Sergeant Yont and his cadaver dog at Woodstone to execute the search warrant of that vehicle.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Cross-examination.
Subway.
All right. Any questions from the jury? Seeing none, sir, you can step in.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Jason Chambers, Jayson Chambers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, what do you currently do for a living?
I'm a special agent for the FBI
And how long have you been a special agent for the FBI?
since 2010.
Okay. And what's your what's the basic scope of your role currently with the FBI?
I'm, as a special agent, I'm an investigator. I'm currently assigned to our Flint office, but I've also been involved with our evidence response team that's based out of Detroit.
Okay. And what is the evidence response team?
The evidence response team is the FBI's forensic team that is involved in collecting evidence at crime scenes and documenting them and documenting the evidence and submitting it for processing.
And do you have any sort of training when it comes to crime scene processing?
I do. We attend a basic training class, which is 2 weeks long, about evidence response, just basic procedures and how to collect evidence and process a scene. And afterwards, there's ongoing education and other classes that you can take. And some of the things that I've done relevant to this matter were classes on documenting the collection of human remains, and also classes at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville at their body farm facility, which is specifically collection and documentation of decomposing bodies.
And as part of your role with the FBI's evidence response team, did you participate in a search of a residence back on January 17th of 2022?
Yes, I did.
And where was that residence located?
I don't have the address on right at the tip of my tongue. It was in East Point.
And I'm sorry, if you did you document your search in a something called a casebook?
Yes, I did.
And if you took a look at that, would that help to refresh your recollection
Yes, it
of the
would.
exact address? May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm handing you a copy of the casebook, and take a look at that and let me know when, if that refreshes your recollection as to the address that you searched on January 17th of 2022.
It does.
Okay, and if I can take that back from you, what was the address?
19451 Greenfield Road in Detroit.
In Detroit.
Yes.
Okay. And when you participated in the search of that particular address, what was the basis of your authority to enter that residence?
A search warrant had been signed the day before, and so we were there to execute that search warrant.
Okay, and when the search warrant was executed, was anyone present in the residence?
When we arrived to to execute the search warrant, there was nobody home. There was nobody there at the residence.
And other than yourself, did anyone else participate in the search that day?
Yes.
And who else participated?
Yeah, so we had a team of FBI personnel to process the possible evidence to be collected. We also had the FBI case agent, who's the lead investigator for the FBI in this matter, and we also had Detective Reinhold from East Point Police Department with us as well.
Okay. And when you searched that residence, approximately how long were you there? Was your team there searching?
We arrived a little bit after 6 o'clock, 6:10 in the morning, and we left the area of approximately 8:30 in the morning. So it was a little bit more than 2 hours.
And was there anything in particular that your team was searching for when you were at that residence?
Yes, the nature of the probable cause for the search warrant was the disappearance of Ms. Foster. So we were looking for any kind of materials, evidence, documentation, electronics, bodily fluids, that kind of thing that would be relevant to that investigation.
Okay. And what can you describe just basically how that residence is situated?
Sure. It's a duplex, and it's a two-story building. It has a basement, and it had a shared backyard. So the backyard was maybe a little bit wider than the actual residence itself.
Okay. And did you or someone else on the team take some photos of the residence during the search?
Yes.
And have you reviewed a subset of those photos that I sent you for presentation today?
Yes.
And do those photos fairly inaccurately depict what you personally observed when you were inside of the residence searching back on January 17th, 2022?
Yes, they do.
And is it your understanding that that set of photos is on this disc that I'm holding that's been marked People's Proposed Exhibit 23?
That is my understanding.
Okay. Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 23.
No, good. All right, that's a bit.
And may I publish?
Sure.
Okay. And where's the driveway in this particular residence?
It's along the left side of the house here.
Okay. And if we look at page 2, what does that show us?
This is the front door of the residence.
Okay. And when you're searching a residence with multiple areas, multiple rooms, is there a way that you keep things organized when you're conducting a search?
Yes. So we will label each room, or to the best of our ability, with letters. And so we'll actually take a piece of paper with a letter written on it and tape it to the wall so that everybody knows this room is room A, this room is room B, etc.
Okay. And then when we go to page 3, which label was given to this particular room?
So this is room A, and there's the label that I just described.
And what room is room A?
It's the front entrance living area.
Okay. And page 4, does this give a sort of a broader view of that room?
Yeah, this is the same room, just looking from the opposite side of the room.
Okay. And how about page 5?
This is one of the couches in that same room.
Okay. And what does page 6 depict?
This is one of the items of evidence that we collected. So when we collect items of evidence, we will take photos of that item in place before it's collected, and then we might take more pictures of it later as well. But this is an in-place documentation of what I believe is the tablet that we collected.
Okay. And is that evidence like tablets or phones, are those collected for possible future forensic extraction and processing?
That's correct.
And that's not something that you would actually do yourself, correct? That would be somebody else that would handle that?
That is correct.
Okay. And then page 7, is that just the other side of that particular tablet?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And how about page 8? What are we looking at here?
This is the television entertainment center in that same room A.
Okay. And how about page 9?
This is another view of that same room. From that opposite side, you can see the front door, main entrance on the right.
Okay. And so this area right here, this would just be right above is that the main couch in the living room?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just going to briefly publish what's been admitted as Exhibit 11. Have you seen this particular exhibit before?
I have not.
Okay. Does just in looking at this area, does that look at all kind of familiar to you?
It appears to be consistent.
Objection, I'm asking him to speculate. He's never seen this particular exhibit before, so he's asking him to speculate.
And I'm not asking you to speculate, but just does that area look familiar to you based on your prior presence on scene at the Greenfield residence?
It does.
Okay. And if we keep going through these photos, page 10 of Exhibit 23, is this just another view of the living room?
It is.
And how about page 11?
This is, again, same room. This is the a little coffee table stand on the other side of the couch that we just saw.
Okay, and does page 12 give us a closer view of that table?
It does.
And how about page 13? What does this show?
This is a photo of the iPhone that we collected.
Okay, and the little object right next to the phone, right below it, what's that?
That's the place for the SD card, or the memory chip for the phone.
Okay, and page 14, is that just the other side of the phone?
That's correct.
Okay, and what condition did that phone kind of appear to be in?
The exterior case had sustained damage.
Okay. And looking at page 15, what are we looking at here?
This is still in that same room, looking towards the other side of the room into what I consider the dining room.
Okay, and here at the center of the photo, what's that object?
That's a vacuum cleaner.
And next to it, what was next to that?
It's a box that appeared. The vacuum cleaner appeared to be new, and that appears to be the box that the vacuum cleaner was packaged in.
Okay, and was there anything, I guess, in connection with that vacuum cleaner that you saw that could be collected or would be suitable for further analysis?
Not at the time.
Not at the time. Okay. Looking at page 16, which sort of zone are we in now?
So this is the next room, the dining room area. We labeled it room B.
Okay. And page 17, does that give us another view of that dining room?
It does.
And how about page 18?
It shows the dining room area, and then you can see, looking into the background there, you can see the living room in connection.
Okay, and you see on the wall this object on the wall?
Yes.
And did you have any sort of familiarity with that during the search?
It appeared to be a smart thermostat, or a digital thermostat.
Okay, was it operational at the time? Did you
I
recall?
don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It was damaged in that way. I don't know that we manipulated it in any way.
Okay, so as far as you know, it was kind of hanging there at the time that the search commenced?
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of page 19, does this just show us sort of another image of the dining room table?
This is the dining room table and the things that were on top of it.
Okay, and were there any items of potential significance located on this table?
There were.
And could you describe where those items were in relation on this picture, I guess specifically?
In this picture, you can see the items on the bottom right corner of the dining room table.
So it would be right here?
That's correct.
Okay. And then if we go to page 20, are these sort of a close-up of those items?
Yes.
And were you able to see what was written on this particular envelope? Is that an envelope that's depicted here?
It appears to be some sort of mail, whether it's an envelope or like a check or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
And then the item next to it is some sort of small cardboard box.
And there's some handwriting on it. Would that be?
And there's handwriting on both of those items.
Okay. And starting with the mail, can you read what that says?
And it's my final wish to be cremated.
And there's no signature next to that or name next to that or anything. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And then on the item next to it, are you able to read that? Starting at the top.
Yes. I did nothing, and in death I stick to that, regardless of the lies being made against me. To my family, Katrina, Mom, Dad, and my siblings, I love you all more than anything in this world, and I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to handle this. To my kids, Ava, Deshaun, Isaiah, Daddy will always be with you and always love you.
And if we go to page 23, are we in a different room at this point?
Yeah, this is room C, which is the kitchen.
Okay. And was there anything notable found in the kitchen?
I think the notable thing in the kitchen was the mop and bucket there.
Okay, that's on page 27. That's visible.
Yes.
And then, do you see the doorway that's depicted on page 28?
Yes.
Where does that door lead to?
The basement.
Okay, and if we look at page 29, does that show the stairs going down to the basement?
It does.
And page 30, are we in the basement at this point?
Yes, we are.
And how about page 31? What does that show?
This is one of the corners in the basement.
And page 32?
A different corner of the same basement.
And page 33.
And again, same basement, same room, slightly, viewpoint is slightly shifted.
And 34.
This is that kind of semi-enclosed area where the bed was found in the basement.
And 35.
Excuse me. This is a small closet area in the basement.
And that's labeled E.
It is.
Okay. And 36.
This is a close-up view of the top shelf of that closet.
Okay. And was anything notable found in the basement?
We didn't collect anything from the basement. There was laundry and clothes and things, but nothing substantial enough for us to collect it for the case.
Okay. And if we go to page 38, what does this depict?
These are the stairs leading to the upstairs of the house.
Okay. And page 39, are we upstairs at this point?
Yes, we are.
And this is, I assume, just a bathroom. It's labeled F.
That's correct.
And anything notable found in that bathroom?
There were cleaning supplies in the under the sink in the bathroom.
Okay, that's just here on 41.
That's correct.
Okay, and then if we go to 42, which room is depicted in page 42?
This is room G, and this is a bedroom in the upstairs.
Okay. And does page 43 show more of that room?
It does.
And page 44
Yep, same room.
and 45
Again, same room.
and 46,
Yes, still same room.
47.
Correct, same room.
And anything notable found in that particular room?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. If we move on to page 50, that's labeled H, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what area of the house was labeled as H?
This is another bedroom in the upstairs.
Okay. If we look on 51, is that like a closet leading to that bedroom?
Yes.
And 52?
Same closet.
And how about 53?
So, I might have misspoken a minute ago. H was a closet in the upstairs going into the bedroom that we're about to see.
Okay.
So H was called its own room. The closet was considered its own room. I then is the bedroom that the closet leads into.
Okay. And then, so if we're looking at 54, we're looking at the sort of label for zone I.
That's correct.
And then 55, is this the actual room that was labeled as I?
That's right.
And 56, anything we're looking at here?
There's more parts of that bedroom labeled I.
Okay. And 57?
So this is a picture of part of the mattress that was found in room I, and you can see there's a small reddish brown stain there on the edge of the mattress.
And 58, is that just a close-up of that?
That's correct.
Now, when you were on scene there, did you have a means to test that stain to determine whether or not that was consistent with being blood?
We did.
And what's the sort of method that you have to do that?
You use what's basically a Q-tip to take a small sample of your test subject and combine it with the testing kit. The testing kit will react with hemoglobin, which is a protein found in blood. So if you get a reaction, you can be confident that whatever you're testing is blood of some kind. We did not get a positive reaction when we tested this.
Okay, and so just to be clear, this was determined not to be blood.
That's correct.
Okay. And then if we go to 59, are we still in the same room?
We are.
And what are we looking at on page 59?
This is the couch along the wall of that bedroom, and you can see the red laptop there sitting on the couch.
Okay, and is 60 just another image of that laptop?
It is.
And how about 61?
This is an Apple Watch that was located in that same room.
Okay. And let's move on here. If we go to 65, what are we looking at here?
This is just a photo of a title.
Go to 66 and zoom in on that. Does that have a particular name on the title?
It does. It's Jaylin Brazier.
If we go back to 65 and zoom in, is there a particular vehicle?
Yes, there is.
Okay. And what is the vehicle?
It is a 2005 Acura TL.
Okay. And go to 67. What are we looking at here?
This is another computer.
Okay. And 68 just the reverse side of that.
It is.
And How about 69?
This is a picture of the backyard from standing on the little porch area from the back door.
Okay, and is there a, toward the middle of the screen here, is there a particular object there?
There is. It's a small, like, coffee table type piece of furniture.
Okay, if we go to 73, is that a closer up image of that object?
It is.
And what does 74 show?
Broken glass on the ground.
Okay. And 75 is just another image of the same table?
It is.
All right. Now, if you're in general searching a crime scene for possible evidence of a violent crime, are there particular things that you're looking for?
Yes. Things could, it'll vary depending on the circumstances of the situation, but you're looking for possible weapons, signs of some sort of struggle, things that have been broken or damaged, bodily fluids, blood, that kind of thing. And anything like that would indicate violence or struggle. Above and beyond that, there are chemicals you can use, things that will react with blood. Sometimes they glow, sometimes they change color, depending on what you're using. There's also types of ultraviolet light that you can use that will also kind of make things like bodily fluids stand out.
Okay, and in terms of the chemicals that can be employed to detect body fluids, were any of those used during this particular search?
Not in this search.
Okay, and why would that have been?
There wasn't enough in having the case agent there and the detective there. We didn't have any, as we inspected the house, there wasn't an area where it looked like it would be appropriate to use them.
Okay, and how about detecting blood? What are the sort of methods that can be used to detect blood at a crime scene? Are those the same as other body fluids?
They are, yeah.
Okay. And have you investigated in your career, you investigated other scenes of violent crimes?
Yes.
And in your experience investigating scenes of violent crimes, do you always expect to find like blood or other body fluids?
You don't expect to find anything. You find what is there to be found. But there are many ways for violence to occur that would not leave evidence like blood or other bodily fluids.
Okay.
Someone could be strangled, that very possibly might not leave blood or bodily fluids. Somebody could sustain blunt force trauma to their head or something like that.
Which would not object to be hypothetical. We can say relevant to this particular situation, opposed to hypothetical to other situations that might be pertinent to this.
I think this is incredibly pertinent to this, Your Honor. So not all forms of violence in your experience are going to produce a bloody crime scene. Would that be fair to say?
That is fair to say.
And in your sort of training and experience, are there ways to conceal evidence of a bloody crime scene if there had been a bloody crime scene?
Yes, there is.
And how might one conceal evidence of a bloody crime scene?
General removal of evidence, whether that's a weapon or something that has blood on it, just removing it from the scene would be concealing. And then combine that with general cleaning, reorganizing, putting things back into place where they may have fallen out of place at one point, just rearranging things the way away from what happened at the scene.
Okay. And I want to ask, you mentioned some of the electronic devices. We talked about what appeared to be the handwritten notes. Other than that, was there any other physical evidence that was collected at this particular scene?
No.
And I want to ask, you've been an FBI special agent for something like 14 years, is that correct?
Almost 14 years, yeah.
Have you, during your experience as an FBI special agent, worked with other federal law enforcement agencies?
I have.
You've worked with federal prosecutors?
I have.
Do you have an understanding, would you say, of federal law enforcement priorities?
I do.
And is marijuana something that's illegal under federal law still?
The unregulated use of marijuana, I think, is a good way to say it, would be federally violating some statute somewhere.
Okay, but is in your understanding of working in federal law enforcement, is investigating, targeting people for personal consumption of marijuana, is that a federal law enforcement priority at this point?
Sure, and I think this goes beyond his expertise on whether each individual agency would investigate a particular marijuana violation. He may say what he's done personally, but he can't attest to what other agencies or other individuals in those agencies conduct.
But, well, he can testify about his own personal experience.
Okay. In your personal experience, again, you have some familiarity with other federal law enforcement agencies.
Yes.
And those agencies' activities specifically in Michigan.
Yes.
And you have familiarity with working with the United States Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Michigan.
Yes.
And in the Western District of Michigan as well.
Also, yes.
And in the 14 years you've been in the FBI, I assume you've had some familiarity with what types of federal cases are being brought in those two judicial districts within the state of Michigan, correct?
I do.
And do you know of anyone getting prosecuted federally for using marijuana?
I've never heard of that.
Okay. And would you say that is marijuana is legal in the state of Michigan, right, under state law? Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding.
And would you say it's commonly known in the state of Michigan that use of marijuana is not a federal enforcement priority?
Objection, that calls for speculation, which is commonly known. He said he knows, but it's commonly known as speculation.
Okay. Let me finish by asking this. So you went to this scene on Greenfield on January 17th to investigate a possible crime, correct?
That's correct.
And the crime that you were investigating was a suspected violent crime, is that correct?
That is correct.
If you had found a body at this scene, hypothetically, would that have furthered your investigation?
Yes, it would have.
Thank you, nothing further.
Good afternoon, Special Agent.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, you stated that there are chemicals that could be used to determine if there's particular evidence, correct? Or bodily fluids, or...
That's correct.
Okay. And in this particular situation, you didn't use any of these chemicals, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you do any fingerprints lifts?
No.
Okay. And you didn't do any DNA swabs, correct? Inside this house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the reason why you didn't do any DNA swabs or fingerprint lifts is because from your determination, there was not a reason to do those, correct?
The reason we didn't do use any of those techniques was it was not in dispute whether the people in question have ever been to that house. So finding a fingerprint or even a DNA sample of one of the people in question at that house wouldn't mean something, wouldn't mean anything one way or the other, because it had been well known that these people had been there.
Okay, but it might have had some evidentiary value of where in the house you found this particular evidence, correct?
The context, I hesitate to say no, but it would be very unlikely that it would be helpful.
Okay. And you didn't find any evidence that would suggest that this particular scene had been cleaned to hide any particular evidence, correct?
I don't have enough context to suggest that.
Oh, okay. To be clear, you didn't have any evidence to suggest that anybody cleaned this particular scene, correct?
I'm only hesitating because the term clean is a little bit of a relative term.
To hide. Okay. You didn't have any evidence that anybody cleaned this particular area in order to hide evidence, correct?
I don't have evidence to say that.
Okay. And you didn't have any evidence to suggest that anybody reorganized the scene, correct? In order to hide evidence.
I don't have anything to specifically say that.
Okay. And you didn't collect that mop bucket that you said that had somewhat of interest to you, correct?
We did not collect the mop bucket.
And you didn't collect the mop either, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, this letter that was written on the table, you don't know who wrote this letter, do you?
I do not.
And you don't know how long it was there, correct?
I do not.
And you didn't collect this to do a handwriting analysis on it, did you?
That part of the investigation is outside of my lane. So the notes were clearly relevant in the moment.
Okay, my question is, you did not collect these writings in order to do a handwriting analysis, correct?
And my answer is, once we collect that evidence, we give it to somebody else at that, like right there at the scene. So what happens to it in the post-processing after it's been collected is not
Beyond your scope of your.
it's beyond my lane.
Okay. Now, you never worked for the DEA, have you?
That's correct.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that the DEA, their primary focus is on drugs and narcotics, correct?
That is in their name.
Okay. So that would be a yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it would be fair to say that the district attorney or you as attorney, they don't personally notify you of every case that they're prosecuting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So you wouldn't know every case, especially if you're not personally involved in that case, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So you can't definitively say whether or not somebody was prosecuted for usage of marijuana, correct?
I would not say that.
You wouldn't say what?
I don't know that. Let me rewind.
Okay, let me ask you this. You don't look at all the cases, correct? You don't know every single case. So
Correct.
you wouldn't know whether or not the U.S. attorney is prosecuting somebody for usage or possession of marijuana, correct?
Correct.
And as a special agent, your job in the FBI is not primary to focus on drugs. Would that be correct?
You are correct.
And you have never took extra steps to figure out or find out whether or not somebody was being prosecuted for the usage or possession of marijuana, correct?
I've never done research to find that answer for myself.
Okay. You didn't do any type of analysis on the table that was outside in the backyard, correct?
Whether you call photography analysis, maybe we could say we didn't do any further analysis outside of the photography and documentation that we did,
Okay.
and we've already shown.
You didn't swab for DNA on the table, did you?
We did not.
Okay. And you were unable to, I guess, ascertain how long this particular table was outside, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. In the glass that you saw outside, you don't know whether or not that table was broken outside, correct?
Correct.
And you stated that there was a shared backyard between these two units in a duplex?
That's my understanding. I don't,
Okay.
I haven't looked at the property lines to know that for sure.
Okay, so you don't know which duplex this particular table even belonged to, correct?
It was located on the side that would be consistent with the address of note. Like it was on their side, not the neighbor's side, but it's a shared backyard.
Shared backyard, okay. In a relatively small backyard, you would say?
It's not large.
Okay. And you didn't find any blood inside the house or anything like that, correct?
We did not.
Okay. And you were looking for that, correct?
We were.
Okay. Did you employ any type of, I guess, for lights, ultraviolet lights or anything like to find any maybe blood that was undetectable by the eye?
Not at this time.
Okay. At a later time, did that happen?
I did not. I was not present for any further processing.
Okay. Did you bring any dogs inside the house to sniff for any possibly bodily remains or blood?
We did.
Okay, and that yielded a negative result?
It did.
Okay. Thank you, Special Agent. No further questions.
Just briefly, Your Honor, there were some questions about concealing evidence at a crime scene. Do you recall answering some questions about that?
I do.
And just to be clear, if hypothetically someone had removed a body from that house, a dead body, would that have been consistent with concealing evidence of a crime?
Yes.
Nothing further, thank you.
Any comments? Nothing further. Any questions from the jury? Seeing none, proceed. You can step in. Please state your name again and spell it.
Yes, sir. My name is Eli Bowers. Last name is Bowers. First name is Eli.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a special agent with the FBI in Detroit
And how long have you been a special agent with the FBI?
since 2015.
And what are the scope of your duties as an FBI special agent?
Well, currently I'm assigned just as a case agent, but one of my collateral duties, or one of a few, is assistant team leader for the evidence response team.
Okay. And as part of your role with the evidence response team, do you have any specialized training when it comes to processing crime scenes?
Yes, I'm a crime scene photographer.
Okay. As part of the FBI's evidence response team, back in January 21st of 2022, did you participate in the execution of a search warrant at 19451 Greenfield Street in the city of Detroit.
I did.
And were you at the initial search of that home too that happened a couple of days previously?
No, just a search on the 21st.
Okay, and what was the purpose of the follow-up search on the 21st?
So the purpose of our search, our reason to be there, was to do to look for blood and saliva using some advanced techniques. And I say advanced meaning not just looking at and seeing it, but using some chemicals and some advanced like some ALS, which is some like different wavelengths of light to try to see things.
Okay, and when you say ALS, you're referring to alternative light source?
Yes.
And can you just kind of unpack that concept a little bit for the jury to explain how that works?
Sure. So I'm not a scientist, but I'm more of a technician. So essentially what ALS does, alternative light sources, it uses different wavelengths of light that are not, we don't normally see, but they, well, actually they're everywhere, but it's just that we don't necessarily see them with our eyes, so we use goggles to be able to see their reactions with different things that the alternative light source is projected upon.
Okay, and is this sort of like, are you familiar with like black lights that, you know, people might know of commonly?
Yes.
Is that kind of along the lines of a black light?
Yes, it's the same concept, right? How a black light will make something glow that would not normally glow to our eyes.
Okay.
In normal lighting.
And the purpose of that is to detect, you're looking for potentially body fluids?
Correct.
And would that include, let's say, saliva?
Yes.
Would it include semen?
Yes.
Would it include blood?
Yes.
Okay. And did you use an alternative light source when you searched that residence on January 21st, 2022?
Yes, we did.
And what parts of the residence did you use that alternative light source in?
We were focused in the living room area, which, so more specifically, there was a carpet on the ground, a couch, and there was also a coffee table, which we had actually brought inside because we felt that was something that was removed from the living room. But
okay. And did using the alternative light source, were you able to identify anything of potential interest or relevance inside the living room?
No, nothing of interest.
Okay. And are there any limitations with using that type of light source on, let's say, carpet?
Yes.
And what can you describe what the limitations are?
Well, the thing with alternative light source is there can be, when you shine this, it can sometimes pick up dust and debris and things like that, so you would have to see these very small objects and then determine whether or not that's something that you'd be interested in pursuing investigatively. But depending on the carpet, it could be like a high pile, like meaning like a very shaggy versus something that's like a flat, non-porous surface, which would be a lot easier for something to glow.
Okay.
You know?
And are you also familiar with something called luminol?
Yes.
And what is luminol?
So luminol is a substance, the chemical, that we put into a spray bottle, and with the lights off, and if you mist this over blood, it will glow. It will glow blue specifically.
Okay. And did you apply luminol in any areas of the home when you searched it?
Yes. The same areas I had mentioned before in the living room, we had also applied luminol to see if any would get any reactions.
Okay. And based on the application of luminol, was there any sort of reactions, I would say, like positively for any type of blood?
No.
Okay. And are there any sort of limitations to using these methods, such as an alternative light source or luminol? Are they fully, I guess, exhaustive in terms of their ability to detect body fluids?
No, they're usually just an indicator, sort of a compass that points in the direction, and then to, for instance, if we would find something that we would that would have reacted, we would have swapped it and sent it to a lab to confirm what the substance actually was. So it can only give us an indicator at best.
Okay. And again, what was your overarching purpose for using these methods at this particular scene back on January 21st, 2021?
Well, we were asked to do this search specifically of this area by the investigators in it. I was not sort of part of the investigative team at that point. I was just a technician working in this instance. And they were trying to detect if there were any bodily fluids or blood in that home, or specifically in the living room area, because the narrative they were working with at the time thought that there may be.
Okay. And in terms of your ability as a technician to investigate that scene, if there had been a body present at that scene, would that have been helpful to further your investigation?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Good afternoon, Special Agent.
Good afternoon.
Now, you stated that you use the ALS, which is the alternative light source, and luminol in order to detect for bodily fluids such as blood.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. And you would say that that's your first line of detection in order to determine whether or not there are bodily fluids using these methods?
No, this would not be our first.
Okay. What would be the first line of detection?
I mean, I think it's sort of more common sense. If you walk in and just see it with your eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you didn't see anything with your eyes, correct?
No.
Okay, so then it'd be fair that the ALS and the luminol would be a secondary line of detection?
Yes. That's
Okay.
a good way to put it.
Were there any other secondary methods of detection other than luminol or the alternative light source to determine whether or not there is blood in a particular area?
Are you saying would there be, or any ones that we use?
Any ones that you use?
Not that we use typically.
Okay.
Sometimes a swab or something to see, but typically
Okay.
we'd only do that if we detect the presence with one of the other methods.
Okay. Are you aware of any other methods that you may not use?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did you personally, was there a dog that was brought in on the day that you were there to maybe sniff for particular body fluids?
No.
Okay.
I believe so.
And how long have you been using the detection methods?
Me personally?
Yes.
Well, I joined the evidence response team in 2017 or 18, so
Since then?
6 or 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you know how long the FBI themselves have been using the detection methods?
I don't know.
Okay, but it predated your employment with the FBI, correct?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And would you say this is a pretty fairly reliable source of detection?
Yes.
Okay. And you stated that you checked the carpet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you checked the couch?
Yes.
Okay. Did you check the walls?
Yes.
Okay. And they all yielded negative results?
Correct.
Okay. And did you employ both methods on the surfaces that I just mentioned?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be the ALS, the alternative light source, and the luminol, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you check anywhere else in the house?
No.
Okay. Did you personally do any DNA swabs?
No.
Okay. Did you do any fingerprint lifts?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Special Agent. No further questions.
Thank you.
You all right? Any questions for the jury? Okay. Nancy, can you do it, please? Counsel, please approach. Why do you then check the bedroom?
Because we were only asked to check the living room by the investigators. So we were working there as essentially an assistance to them. That's what we were asked to do.
The follow based on that question.
Just briefly, so Special Agent Bauer, so just to be clear, your role on scene was that you were sort of completing a specific task that you were asked to take care of, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were you involved with like driving the overall investigation at that point?
No, not at all.
But the ask was sort of specific to the living room. That was the area of focus.
Yes, that's fairly typical for the FBI's role in non-federal cases, because we were considered specialists, for lack of a better term, by a lot of the state and local investigators. So they wanted us because of our specific abilities to work with the alternative light source and the luminol, which is just not typical for a normal investigator. So that's why we were called in.
Okay, thank you.
And would it be against the rules if you were to, I say, take it upon yourself to search another area of the house that wasn't specifically given to you to search?
As long as it would be in the search warrant, we could do so. But obviously,
Okay.
Yeah.
If the search warrant stated you can search the entire house, then you could take it upon yourself to search another particular area, correct?
I suppose so, yes.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
I think you can step down.
Thank you.
Go ahead, next witness.
This time people call David Yount.
Yes, sir. David Yount, Y-O-U-N-T.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, what do you currently do for a living?
I work for the Michigan State Police K-9 unit.
And how long have you worked with the Michigan State Police more generally?
Since May of 1995.
And how long have you been with the K-9 unit?
Since 2000.
And what's your current role in connection with the Michigan State Police K-9 unit?
Right now I'm a sergeant within the Michigan State Police K-9 unit.
Okay, and what are your sort of duties as a sergeant in that unit?
I am the head trainer I was also the K-9 unit commander. Due to the growth of that unit, we brought a lieutenant on. So I'm basically the assistant unit commander for the State Police K-9 unit, also the head trainer.
Okay, and how long have you had that role as head trainer within the unit?
I've had the head trainer role since 2004.
And what does the Michigan State Police K-9 unit do?
We were established in 1960. We find people, lost people. We find suspect that flee crimes. We find substances, whether it be narcotics, explosives, accelerants. We find lost people. We also find, we have cadaver dogs that locate human remains. Also human remains such as tissue, bone, and blood. We find those in trace amounts. We also find them in different environments, like water, houses, buried, things like that. We have explosive dogs that detect 13 different explosives, but in combination, hundreds of different types of devices. We have accelerant dogs that locate accelerants such as gasoline, kerosene, lighter fluid, lamp lighter fluid. We help and assist at scenes where there's fires, fatal fires. Our cadaver dogs also help in that capacity. We have tactical entry dogs where we work with our SWAT team. We have dogs that are trained to assist in those types of calls.
And do you have any sort of specialized training when it comes to being a K-9 handler?
Yes, sir.
And what is, can you kind of walk us through your training background in that field?
Yes, sir. The basic K-9 school is 560 hours. It's 14 weeks of basic K-9 training. You're learning about K-9 theory, K-9 behaviors. We're also a unique unit in that we train our dogs from, they're untrained. We call them green dogs. They're not trained. So as a new handler, you are training an untrained K-9 and you're learning all the principles of conditioning. So we train the dog from the ground up. And give you an example, my first dog was a bomb dog. He was a tracking bomb dog. So we would teach the dog how to track. Basically, the dog taught us. He knew how to track, but we just learned as a handler through repetition on how to read the dog. But then we would condition the dog to odors. So, like I said, my dog was a bomb dog, so we would train the dog to indicate on target sources. So for me, in 2000, it was explosives. We'd teach them how to really condition them how to locate explosives, C4, black powder, different substances like that. So you go through a 560-hour basic K-9 training course. That's what we do.
And did you, you personally took that course yourself?
Yes, sir.
And in your current role as a supervisor, do you help train other K-9 handlers in that course?
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned cadaver dogs. Can you just describe what a cadaver dog is generally?
Yes, sir. A cadaver dog basically finds human remains in different states of decomp. Whether it's it could be freshly a person that freshly passes away and somebody tries to hide them, or it can be trace amounts where you have somebody that is killed and there's blood left behind. We condition the dogs to indicate on trace amounts of blood, all the way down to 1 parts per million of human blood our canines can detect.
And can you help us kind of understand what's the process like for training a dog to detect the odor of human remains to create that sort of impression with them?
Yes, sir. So the principles of conditioning for a canine for detector work, whether we're detecting narcotics or cadaver or accelerants, it's the same. The first thing we do is we teach the dog to sit, because the sit is going to be the response. That's going to be the final response that the dog does to say, hey, this is I'm getting as close as I can to the source of the odor. He sits. The last place his nose was is where I look, and that is usually where the substance is. So in our training course, we teach the dog to sit, and then when he sits reliably, when I tell the dog to sit and he sits right down, then we bring in odors. And say I'm training him on cadaver tissue. So I'll bring in tissue, I'll put it in a box. It's in a design box that his nose can go in, so the odor is isolated, and I'll have 8 other boxes. 7 of the boxes are empty. 1 of them has the target odor. The dog is directed to the box, and the dogs are selected because they're high drive dogs. They're naturally curious and nosy, right? So we point to the box. The dog smells the box. He doesn't really know what he's smelling, but he goes to the boxes. He goes to the one. He gets to the one with the odor, the tissue, which is a different odor, and he'll usually stop and hesitate. Well, what is that? And we say sit. And the dog, sit. Boom. And they'll sit. And then we put a ball with a design box with a hole. We pop the ball through the hole, And like Pavlov's law, we ring a bell, you feed the dog salivates. It's that conditioning process we do hundreds of times that the dog eventually seeks that odor out because he's pairing that odor with his reward. And mind you, we pick a dog that's a high drive dog that hunts and he wants that ball for the prey drive. We do that hundreds of times and eventually the dog is conditioned to that odor and that odor only.
And so how long does it take to take a dog that's green, as you say, untrained, and get that dog ready to be put into the field and be used as a cadaver dog in the field?
So with our cadaver program, we never have anybody new run a cadaver dog. So it's usually a handler that's already been a handler for a while, so they understand the principles and how the dog operates. It's 10 weeks, so it's 400 hours. 400 hours of training, detector for training.
Okay, and the methods used to train cadaver dogs, are those something that you just came up with personally, or is that something that is used more broadly within the Michigan State Police and even nationally?
I would say the principles that we use are worldwide. We've evolved since 1960. Obviously, everything, things change, right? We find new techniques that work, and we use them. Our manual is taken from the United States military, but also from U.S. Customs and a plethora of sources that we vet through. Hey, if this technique works, we're gonna take that little segment and use that for our application. So this process of cadaver has evolved.
And are you familiar with a cadaver dog by the name of Jameson or JAMO?
Yes, sir.
And what's your familiarity with JAMO?
I was responsible for selecting Jameson. He was one of 14 dogs that were tested to be a cadaver dog, and then I trained him, and he was my dog. I ran him. He's still a cadaver dog.
And so did you went through that 400-hour program with Jameson?
Yes, sir.
Personally?
Yes, sir.
During your training of Jameson to be a cadaver dog, did you have any issues or concerns about Jameson's accuracy in detecting the odor of human remains?
Not at all. He from the moment we tested him. So he's a Belgian Malinois, which those are a very high drive dog. They're very high drive. They're great dogs. They're great work dogs. They work really fast though. But he was very methodical. Of the 14 dogs, he was my only Malinois. I really did not plan on selecting a Belgian Malinois. He was very slow, very methodical, and then going into the training process. And then, mind you, Jameson is my 13th work dog. He's my 13th dog that I've worked on the road. Seeing this, recognizing how talented he was at it, he made the training really easy. I had zero issues with Canine Jameson.
Okay, and was Jameson eventually certified in any way as a cadaver dog?
Yes, sir.
And I'm holding what's been marked as proposed exhibit 30. Can I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
What is proposed exhibit 30?
That is our certification.
Okay, and is that just a record of Jameson's? Would that be his initial certification as a
Yes,
cadaver
sir.
dog? Was that in 2021?
Yes, sir.
And is this the sort of record that is kept in the ordinary course of your unit's business?
Yes, sir.
And is it the regular practice of your unit to keep records of canine certifications like this?
Yes, sir. Certifications and training documentation. We document all of our training.
Okay. Your Honor, with that, I move to admit proposed exhibit 30.
Okay.
All right, it's admitted.
And so Jameson was certified in 2021, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And has he been in the field as a cadaver dog since that time?
Yes, sir.
And after the time of his initial certification, have you had any problems or concerns come up about Jameson's accuracy as a cadaver dog?
No, sir.
Now, have you previously had the opportunity to testify as an expert in the field of canine handling based on your experience and your training in that field?
Yes, sir.
And can you say approximately how many times you've testified as an expert in that field?
Several, maybe a dozen.
Okay. Has any court ever refused to qualify you as an expert in that field?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I would pass for any board of yours to expertise at this point.
Any questions?
No question.
So, Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to have Sergeant Yount certified as a expert in the field of canine handling.
Okay.
All right. Qualified as an expert pursuant to MRE 72.
Now, hypothetically, I want to ask you a couple of hypotheticals, okay?
Yes, sir.
If, hypothetically, there was an enclosed space that had decomposing human tissue in it, that had been decomposing for some lengthy period of time, would that leave the sort of odor behind that Jameson might detect?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hypothetically, if there was just a drop of dried blood right here on this table, and that blood had been sitting there for some time, would that create the sort of odor that would cause Jameson to indicate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hypothetically, if let's say I died right here, would there be odors emanating from me that might make Jameson indicate the presence of human remains almost immediately?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you deploy Jameson in connection with the investigation into the disappearance of Zion Foster?
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask about a couple of different situations. I want to take you back to January 17th of 2022. On that particular day, did you go to a residence located at 19451 Greenfield in the city of Detroit?
Yes, sir.
And at that residence, did you have Jameson with you?
Yes, sir.
And can you kind of walk us through what you did with Jameson at that residence?
So the first thing I do is I get briefed by detectives on scene. I do a safety walkthrough for two purposes. I walk through to make sure there's no pets, dogs running loose, cats, things like that. Also for safety reasons, in case there's any glass, any poisons. You know, sometimes there's rat poison or poisons like that, or cleaners in toilets, things like that. So I'm doing a safety check. And at the same time, I'm also getting a search strategy, getting the layout of the house, of how I'm going to search the house, formulating that before I even get the dog out of the vehicle. That's why I do the safety walkthrough of the target.
Okay. And did you ultimately take Jameson through the house?
Yes, sir.
And did Jameson make any sort of positive indications inside the house?
He did not.
Okay. And did you also participate in the search of a white Acura on January 2019? I'm sorry, January 19th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
And was that located at the Woods Towing in East Point?
Yes, sir.
And who else was there, I guess, at the time that you were there?
I would have to refresh my memory off my report. There was somebody there that gave me access to the vehicle and was present for the search of that vehicle.
And did you draft a report about the searches that you did with Jameson in this case?
Yes, sir.
And if you took a look at that report, would that refresh your recollection as to who was at the vehicle search with you?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Sure.
I'm handing you a copy of your report. Why don't you take a look at that and let me know when and if your recollection has been refreshed as to who you were with at the vehicle search.
Detective Sowers of East Point PD.
Okay. And did you have Jameson with you at Woods Towing?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe what you did in connection with Jameson in the search of that vehicle?
Yes, sir. So the same principle and the same technique that I use for target houses or target areas when we have that capability to do that. I go to the vehicle, I look at the vehicle, I open the vehicle up, make sure I'm looking for safety reasons, anything sharp, any broken glass, any needles, anything that could hurt the dog. Also, I completely open the vehicle up, open the trunks and open the doors. At that point, I get the dog out, basically air him out, and then what we do is, just like in the training that we talked about earlier, is I put a harness on Canine Jameson that cues him that, okay, now we're looking for the target odor that you've been trained, you've done hundreds of times. I put his harness on, and then we search the vehicle. On this particular case, he didn't give any positive indications for human remains in the passenger compartment of the vehicle, but he did get to the trunk of the vehicle, and he gave a positive indication on the lower left area of the trunk where there was some black clothing that looked like a uniform. He also gave a positive indication for human remains on the side of the trunk, on the inside of the trunk, towards the back.
And did you, obviously you didn't physically observe any human remains in the trunk of the car, is that fair to say?
Yes, sir. It's fair to say. I take my light and I obviously look where his last place where his nose was, and I could not see anything.
Okay.
Anything obvious.
And did you also that same day participate in the sort of canvass of a particular area in Highland Park?
Yes, sir.
And did you have Jameson with you out in that area?
Yes, sir.
And what were you doing, I guess, at that point?
We received information that that was a potential area of where our missing person would be located. So we conducted a search. I also remember calling in one of my handlers to assist with the open area search. And Jameson was there to do things like houses or overgrown areas or potentially ground disturbance areas or things that had been dumped, because he can do that, dumpsters and things like that. So we searched I want to say it was about a 3-block area of land, houses. I remember a 3-story large abandoned building. We searched every square inch of that place as well. We had a lot of debris and a lot of items in the building.
And did Jameson make any positive indications as you searched that area of Highland Park?
No, sir.
Okay, so the only positive indications were in the trunk of the car, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask, hypothetically, based on your training and your experience as a canine handler, if a body had been in that trunk for just a short period of time, shortly after the person was deceased, could that lead to enough of an odor that Jameson might indicate on it?
I would say there would have to be some transfer of fluid.
Okay.
Yes, it is possible.
It is possible.
Yes, sir.
And you mentioned your dog was trained to indicate on a certain sort of level of blood by parts per million. Can you explain that?
Yes, sir. So I've always been intrigued by what the dogs can indicate because they surprise you. They do great things, right? So I wanted to put a measurement on it, and I've been working with our laboratories on how to put a number. How could I measure what a dog that can locate trace blood evidence? How could I put a number on it to be able to, I was just fascinated. I was kind of obsessed with it, and so we came up with a process of diluting blood, measured blood, into water, and then we would basically see what the dog's capability was of locating a small threshold amount of blood, and we got to 1 parts per million. And if you know what 1 parts per million is, if you took the tip of your pen and you held it out, it's a speck on the tip of that pen.
Would that be visible to the naked eye?
No.
And if you, let's say I dropped blood into a glass of water, like a full drop of blood, there'd be some change to the water's composition, right?
Yes, sir.
You'd be able to see it slowly turn red to some extent.
Yes, sir.
How about with 1 part per million? Is there any, to the human eye, would you be able to see any change? And, but Jameson can still detect just that small amount?
Yes, sir. Not only that amount that is freshly placed out, we did it aged 2 weeks. We did 1 parts per million that was aged out 2 weeks old.
And when you talk about transfer of fluid when it comes to your cadaver dog, are you talking specifically about blood?
Yes, sir.
Is Jameson trained to indicate on saliva?
Not specifically.
Okay. Any other body fluid that Jameson is trained to indicate on?
Not specifically anything other than blood as far as fluids.
Okay. And I guess in my hypothetical that I posed earlier, if let's say again, if I were to suddenly die right here, would there be sort of immediate odors that might be indicatable by Jameson?
Well, I'm not a pathologist, but from my understanding over 20 years of doing this, my understanding from the industry is as soon as a human body dies, the cells die with it. And that's how we're able to locate victims in water, is the cells die and they put off a gas. And then that's what the dogs are trained to detect. So once you die, your cells die. And they're dying, they're gassing off immediately.
Okay. And so even without blood being present or outside of my body, there might still be an odor that would be detectable. Is that fair to say? Is that correct? Or
can you say that again?
so maybe to make this less about me, if somebody hypothetically passes away, and there's no blood, no body fluid, would their body start emitting that gas that you described based on your training and your experience in this field?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so hypothetically, again, would it be possible if someone had been in the trunk of that car even without bleeding and had been dead, would it be possible for there to be odors left behind indicating the presence of human remains?
What I think would be more possible is there would be such a small amount of blood that that's what the dog would be indicating on.
Okay. And it's so small that you might not be able to see that with your naked eye, right?
See it with the naked eye, or you could potentially miss it with search techniques as well.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Counsel Brazier?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, Jamison was certified through Michigan State Police, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It'll be a fair statement that there is no third-party agency who certifies these dogs, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And there's not a universal standard as which you can compare to see whether or not Jamison is properly qualified to be a cadaver dog, correct?
No, that is not correct.
Are you saying that there's a universal standard?
There is there's associations out there that have some standards. The USPCA, NAPWADA. There's also NASAR. There are some associations out there that have a standard.
Okay.
But they're
So you're saying that there is a universal standard? Is that what you're saying?
no, they're not universal. There's other standards.
Okay. And that would go to cadaver dogs, dogs who sniff for narcotics, explosive, accelerants, etc.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just to be clear, there is no universal standard for which you can compare your dog to see whether or not it's qualified, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, has Jamison ever given false positives?
No, sir.
Okay, never?
Never.
Okay. Now, in a situation where Jamison were to detect on a particular area and you yourself didn't see it, or if you use other methods of detection and they did not come up, how would you be able to verify whether or not Jamison's detection was actually accurate?
That's a good question. You have to use equipment. You have to use equipment, or in training, we know there's a source. We know that there's a source there. We place the source.
Okay.
And okay.
In the real world, when you don't know whether or not there's a source there, Jamison detects on a particular area. You yourself can't see it. Other methods of detection are used, but it does not come up with any evidence. Under those situations, how would you know whether or not Jamison did not give a false positive?
Because I'm relying on his training and the experience of the canine. He doesn't do that.
Oh, he doesn't do that. But if somebody were to come behind you and try to detect and nothing came up, you just determine that they're wrong and Jamison is correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in this particular situation, did you verify after the detection of Jamison whether or not something was discovered in the area that Jamison indicated on?
I had followed up a short time later, and I believe they were still going through the items of the trunk.
Okay. And as far as you know, there was no evidence of bodily fluids that were found in that particular trunk, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Now, you indicated that Jamison is qualified to detect 1/1,000,000th of blood in particular water. But let me ask you, how were you able to, measure 1/1,000,000th of a particle of blood?
I did not do that personally. A qualified person from the laboratory did that.
Okay. Now, isn't it true at the preliminary examination you indicated that Jamison allegedly could do all the way down to 1 part per 12,000?
I don't recall that specifically. I may have.
Okay, page 196.
And what was the date of that, sir?
The date of that would be August the 9th, 2023. We tried to, line 10. We try to hit all the spectrums. We try and hit fresh blood. So we try to use fresh blood. We try to use aged blood. And then we try to vary amounts to do all the way down to 1 part per 12,000, which is less than a pinhead.
Yes.
Remember stating that?
Yes, sir. And that is because during that process in that program, that's where we were at.
Oh, so now you're saying that he's more qualified now. So now he went from 12,000 to 1,000,000? Is that what you're saying?
We were measuring that. We were measuring it at the time. That's where we were at in our measurements.
Okay. But today you testified that Jamison allegedly can detect all the way down to 1 part of 1,000,000, correct?
Yes, that's where he's at.
So he's changed, correct? As far as his being able to detect, he's gotten that much better?
from us knowing what he can detect.
Okay, so you're saying that since August 9th of 2023, at that particular date, Jameson was detecting 1 part per 12,000, correct?
At the minimum.
At the minimum. And now you're saying today that he is detecting 1 part per 1 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could it be that you're mistaken? Because you used the same analogy at the preliminary examination that the pinhead that you used today.
1 parts per 12,000 is a pinhead.
Okay.
It's just a bigger portion of the pinhead.
You used less than a pinhead.
It'll take up more space. 1 part per 12,000 would take up more space on a pinhead, but 1 part per million would take up lesser space on a pinhead.
And did you submit any documentation to substantiate that Jameson can now detect 1 part of 1 million?
Yes, sir. It's in the training dailies. It should be in our training dailies that we document. And this is the thing with canine training is you're constantly evolving and measuring and pushing the dogs, pushing the envelopes of the dogs. And it's just August of 23 was just earlier in his career.
Okay, so within less than a year, he's gotten almost 10 times better as far as his ability to detect blood.
I wouldn't say that it's better. Like he's gotten better. It was us being able to measure him. We were going through a process of measuring what they could detect.
Okay.
So as time went on, we decrease that threshold to see what the canine could detect. It just happened on August of 23. We were at 1 parts per 12,000.
What day did he get to 1 part per 1 million?
I would have to look in the training documents.
Do you have that
I
information?
do not have them. I submitted. I don't have them.
Okay.
I can get them. I can get those.
Okay. When was the last time you reviewed those?
My training dailies?
Yes.
Well, I got. I'm on light duty right now, so I've been injured. I had major shoulder surgery, so right now I've been kind of out of that.
Okay.
Out of that loop right now.
And when did that date take an effect that you were out of that particular field?
Well, still in the field, but the status to change in January of 23, mid-January. I'm estimating that.
January of 23 or January of 24?
I'm sorry, January 24. January, thank you.
So you stopped in January of 24, correct? So you're saying between August of 2023 and January of 2024, which is roughly 3 months, within that time frame, Jameson went from being able to detect 1 part per 12,000 to 1 part per 1 million?
Yes, sir.
In those 3 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you don't know which month it was, correct?
I don't, not off the top of my head. I have to review my dailies
Okay.
to see those specific.
And you didn't bring those with you in preparation of testifying today?
I submitted those months ago shortly after the prelim. You requested those and I submitted those.
Now, Jameson's, he's unable to detect the manner or cause of somebody's death. That'd be a fair statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He just is trained to detect bodily fluids or the gases that the body lets off after it's deceased, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when the prosecutor gave an example of somebody, say they died right here and there, right now,
Yes, sir.
in this very courtroom, their body would be letting off gases, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then Jameson, he would be able to detect that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and even if there's no blood, correct? He would be able to detect the gases. That'd be correct, right?
That's what he's indicating off of is the gases off the body. There's a source there.
The gases, okay.
The source would be the body,
Okay.
and that's where the gases would be coming from.
Okay, so for one, you don't know whether or not if Jameson indicated if in fact there was actually bodily fluids in that particular area, correct?
I mean, I don't want to argue with you, but I believe that there was human blood in that trunk, and that's what he indicated.
Right. You believe
Because
it,
there was no body in there.
Okay, but you don't have any supporting evidence or analysis that would confirm that indication, correct?
I would say the 20 years of experience, and then this last part of training where we're measuring the blood, the trace amounts of blood, leaves me to believe that that's what he's indicating.
Okay. So you're saying Jameson is 100% accurate every single time?
I wouldn't say he's 100%. No dogs are 100%. They're dogs. They do dog things. He's not perfect.
Okay.
But when it comes to when we're working and his harness is on, and he is a very sharp canine.
And that I don't doubt. I don't doubt that. Well, my question is, because you indicated that, or you testified to that, even though there was no supporting evidence through analysis from collection of DNA, from items recovered from the truck that would indicate there was a presence of bodily fluids. You stated that you still have confidence that in that particular indication that Jameson was correct, right?
I'm very confident, yes, sir.
You're very confident, but you're not positive, right? You couldn't guarantee that. Would that be a fair statement?
If I didn't think there was anything there, I wouldn't waste the crime lab, the investigator's time in calling those areas. He gave a distinct final response that he's done hundreds of times. He doesn't do it on food, doesn't do it on anything, doesn't do it on other animals. We proof them off of other animals and other animal remains. That I'm very sure.
Okay. And you called the crime lab, correct?
I did not.
They were contacted, correct?
Through the detective. I let the detective know.
Okay. And is your understanding that the crime lab came out and processed that particular vehicle in that particular area to determine whether or not there was evidence, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, has Jameson ever had a false positive during his training?
No, sir.
Even during training?
Even during training.
So the first day you ever took Jameson out, he never had a false positive?
Well, for one, he didn't know anything. We had to teach him how to sit. He didn't have an opportunity. And so I would put it that way. He really never had an opportunity to give a false positive.
Okay. But at some point in time, after he learned how to sit, you then introduced him to odors, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're saying that when that initial time where you introduced him to odors, from that time forward, there was never a false positive that Jameson indicated on?
I can honestly say, I'll tell you the worst thing that he did.
That's not my question.
What is your definition of a false positive?
A false positive is indicating on the presence of an odor of a substance when it is not there.
And I can honestly say he has not done that.
In training at all?
He has not. I've had dogs do that. I've had every other dog. I've had 12 other dogs that have done that.
So is this the best dog ever in the history
I've
of
seen
cadaver
thousands of
dogs?
dogs work, and I've certified dogs all over the world, and I'm not. He has done a pretty good job.
It sounds like he does not just a pretty good job, but if he's never had a false positive, then that would be an excellent job, a perfect job, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you testified that usually where the substance is, they sit. You stated that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you use the word usually, are there times where they don't sit?
There's times on a boat when they're on the water where so we're on these flat bottom duck boats, and we're given an area to search on the water, and the dog will be on the boat, and he's just sitting here like this, like you and I were sitting here, right? And then all of a sudden he'll pop up, and he'll start doing what we call a bracket. So it's like he's back and forth working odor, like frantically, almost like he took his tennis ball and threw it in the water. And he'll do these things that we call bracketing. And so those are times when I've had the dog not sit on the boat. And my theory is that what happens is they get odor, and they think because of the land searches they can get to source, but in the water they can't get to source, and sometimes they won't give the final response because they're like, Dad, get me closer. And so we'll work these patterns, right? And when we get out of a certain area, he'll stop doing the bracketing, and when we go back in, he does the bracketing. So that's one of the few times where he doesn't give that nice, pretty final response. But his behavior is not what it is.
Okay.
And when we mark those areas, we let the dive team know, hey, we've got some indications in this area. The dive team will go in and dive, and that's usually where the body is.
Usually when that's the body. So there's been situations where the body hasn't been there, correct?
It's situations more that the divers miss the body. I've had them actually miss their sonar. They have these very expensive sonars that they'll use, and they're not coming up with anything, and we'll put the dog on the boat, and the dog will hit, and sometimes they will miss locating the body.
And how are you able to attribute them missing the body versus the dog being able to or indicating incorrectly?
What happens is they'll come out like the next day, and the body will be like floating right there in that area where we told them these indications were. And
okay, but it'll be fair that bodies in water, they don't stay in the same place, correct?
They do when they initially go down. When a body initially goes down, after they drown, they go down, right? And so, right when you die, you're gassing off. Like this is that your cells die, you start to gas off, and usually it depends on what the person's age, depends on their body mass index, temperature of water. After it's usually 7 to 10 days, the body will start to float because of those gases that are building up.
Okay, and it would depend on what type of body of water they're in, the current.
Yep, the depth, the current, the temperatures.
Okay, but it would be fair to say that a body, if it falls in the water, is not going to rise in the exact same location that it went. It may be 15 feet downstream, it may be 100 feet downstream, it may be in a whole nother area. That'd be a fair statement, correct?
That is possible.
Okay, so if you come back the next day and the body is in a particular area, you can't definitively say if that body was in that particular area the day before. That'd be a fair statement, correct?
It's semi-fair. If you're in an unprotected area, it's a semi.
You said unprotected area?
You know, it's in a protected area where there's no current and there's no wind, or the body would just come up. And
That would be in a perfect situation where there's no wind, there's no current, then possibly the body would rise in the exact same location that you intended to be in, correct?
that's correct. And I've had them located, like, I've had bodies get trapped under logs, and they miss them under logs, like, because they're down there, they can't see. They're using their hands. They're down 20 feet searching, right?
Okay.
And they miss it on one day, and then the new guy that's motivated to search, he comes and searches, and he starts moving logs. Oh, there it is. And it's like, okay, the dog was right.
So you're saying that sometimes that there are inadequate searches that are being performed by?
I wouldn't say that at all. I would just say that they're searches that are done, and they redo their searches. That's all.
Okay. One of the ways of verifying whether or not an indication is correct as far as bodily fluid would be to send it to a lab, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And actually, that'll probably be the only way to truly verify it without assuming that the dog is correct. That'd be a fair statement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're stating that in those particular instances where the evidence is sent to a lab and it yields a negative result, you would still have 100% confidence in Jameson despite trained professionals analyzing and determining that there is no evidence. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say 100%, but I would lean more towards that there was something there. Based on Jameson, I've never had this happen. I've never had that happen, and I would just lean towards.
Do you follow up every single time that Jameson makes an indication on a particular area?
Yes.
100% of the time, if you don't see evidence with your own eyes, if Jameson indicates, you always follow up with the lab to see whether or not there was evidence that was collected, correct?
I don't call the lab, I call the investigator. I go through the investigator.
Investigator?
Yes.
Okay, so 100 out of 100 times, you always find out the result of that particular analysis. Is that correct?
I hate to say 100%.
Because you said it never happens. You said it never happens where Jameson indicates on a particular area and it will not yield evidence.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if that's happened with Jameson. And I had a search where he hit on the floor. I followed up. They found blood there on the floor under the flooring. I follow up every single time.
Okay.
He's new in his career, so there wouldn't be as many.
Okay. We're talking about, I didn't mean to cut you off, but in incidences where Jameson indicated on a particular area, was there ever a situation where you checked in with the investigator or the expert who analyzed it, whomever, and determined, and they let you know that there was no bodily fluids or DNA that was actually collected?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
I don't remember that happening. But he has not had that. I mean, the ones that stand out are the ones that they did locate.
Okay. In this particular case, Jameson allegedly indicated, correct?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, there was no DNA found, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you do remember this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
But yet you didn't cite this particular case when I asked you whether or not it happened. You said you don't remember, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Did you direct?
Yes, Your Honor. In this particular case, would it reinforce your opinion that something was in that trunk if you had heard that someone admitted there was a body in that trunk?
Absolutely.
And did you hear that in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And is that why you didn't see this as a case of a potential false positive?
Objection.
Let me rephrase the question.
Did you see this case as a case of a potential false positive?
No, sir.
Why not?
The totality of all the information, the way he indicated, just the information and everything, and that's why. And his training and his past performance.
I want to just clarify this issue about the parts per 12,000 versus parts per million. So back in August of 23, when you testified at that point, is it correct that you had only tested to the threshold of 1 part per 12,000.
Yes, sir.
You hadn't tested Jameson to the threshold of 1 part per 12 million at that
That's
time,
correct. Yes, sir.
And so you don't know whether Jameson was able to detect above the 1 part per 12,000 threshold because you hadn't tested beyond that threshold,
Correct. That's correct. Yes.
But subsequently, you've tested all the way up to 1 part per 1 million, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there's one other question I forgot to ask in my initial questioning. Is it feasible to use a cadaver dog to search for human remains in a landfill?
It's not. I've done it and almost killed my dog, or made the dog very sick. It's not feasible. No.
Okay. What are the limitations of being able to use a cadaver dog in a landfill?
Objection, Your Honor. I think this goes beyond the scope of cross.
And to be fair, yeah, I just forgot to ask this question, but he's here.
I'll also allow some more cross-examination. Go ahead.
What are the sort of limitations with being able to use a cadaver dog to search for human remains in a landfill?
It's dangerous for the dog. It's dangerous for the handler. There's gases. There's gases that are both methane gases, poisonous gases, and those things. People throw their garbage away, right? It breaks down and it gives off dangerous gases, and we don't do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sergeant, and how many times have you used the dog at a landfill?
It should be maybe 3 or 4 times.
Maybe 3 or 4 times?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was it the same dog?
No.
Okay. And you indicated that it could be dangerous for the dog and for the handler, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because of the gases?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are these the same dogs who are trained to detect accelerants?
No, sir. They're a single-purpose dog. All they detect is human remains and nothing else.
Okay. Would it be fair that some dogs are trained to detect accelerants, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and accelerants can have harmful chemicals. That'd be a fair statement?
Not the same as what's on a landfill. Those are poisonous gases.
So you're saying that accelerants are not poisonous gases?
Well, you can put gas in your lawnmower and you can smell the gas and it's not going to make you sick, but you could go on a landfill and it'll make your dog.
So if a person were to be in the room with gas fumes, that wouldn't be harmful to them?
Are you talking about gasoline?
You said gasoline.
Accelerant dog?
Yeah, gasoline, yes.
No, that's not for a short time while you're searching. I mean, then I guess we wouldn't search garages and sheds, things like that. But landfills are different. There's raw material. People throw their stuff away and it breaks down. That's what's creating the poisonous gases.
And did the dog are you saying this out of an abundance of caution, or did the dog, when you performed this particular search, actually have some adverse effects?
The dog had adverse effects. I've had 2 dogs that did that. They had adverse effects.
If you could describe what the effects were.
Oh, he got a very lethargic, almost would lay down, and vomit, diarrhea.
And that's the same with all the dogs exhibit those same symptoms?
I wouldn't say every dog, but it happened to me. It happened to my dog. It happened to my first cadaver dog, Storm. And it happened to my second cadaver dog, Lightning. They both exhibited similar. It's definitely not healthy, and the one I got sick. I felt sick.
Okay, and out of the searches that you did conduct, were those the only 2 dogs that were used?
Yes, we were looking for the Skelton boys down in Morenci, the 3 Skelton boys that were missing. So we.
And how long were you out there for?
It's been so long. We worked that case several days and went into Ohio.
Okay.
A lot of land and a lot of areas.
And did the dogs immediately start to exhibit those symptoms, or was it after a period of time?
I don't think it was immediate.
Okay.
But it was enough to know don't go back on the landfills.
Okay, just give us an estimate if you remember.
It's been so long. It's hard for me to remember how long we were up there searching.
Okay, was it a long time? Was it a short time? Were you out there for like multiple hours? 10 hours possibly?
Out on land? No, I really don't remember that. It's been so long. We were out there searching, and maybe an hour or less, and then the dog started exhibiting signs of.
So if there is a request given by a particular agency to bring a cadaver dog to a landfill, you would reject that request?
Yes, for the safety of the dog, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any regards? Any questions from the jury? Rich? Are false positives common with cadaver dogs specifically?
I'm sorry, sir.
Are false positives common with cadaver dogs?
False positive. No, sir.
What happened to the clothes in the trunk? This is black clothes that look like the uniform.
What happened to the clothes?
If you know.
I don't know what happened. I turned it over to the detective, and I don't know.
Okay. Any follow-up question based on those answers?
No, Your Honor, thanks.
Now, as far as false positive, you're saying that's being uncommon with cadaver dogs. Is that just on your personal knowledge of the dogs that you personally trained or handled?
I guess in my ecosystem, yes, it's from what there's not a lot of false positives.
But there are some.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
If you can step up.
Thank you.
You're gonna.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am. What do you currently do for a living?
I'm currently employed with the City of Detroit Police Department. I'm assigned to the Homicide Missing Persons Department.
And how long have you been a police officer with the Detroit Police Department?
I started in 2000, so I'm working on coming up to 24 years.
And what's your current role in connection with homicide and missing persons?
So currently I work missing persons, and we review cases where they're not your normal somebody that left or somebody with dementia. This is going to be a person who is missing from a home that we believe are in trouble or something has happened, and we're possibly going to be making a recovery of that person.
And what's your current rank in terms of your position with missing persons?
I'm a sergeant.
As part of your role with missing persons, did you have some role in connection with the disappearance of the investigation into the disappearance of Zion Foster?
Yes, sir.
And approximately what day did you first become involved in the investigation?
I believe the first day that we started becoming involved was around January 17, 18th. There have been some different news stories that went out, and possibly this young girl had been missing in Detroit. Whenever that's the case, it's kind of like asked of our team if there's anything that we've been asked to, and we reach out to the other agency at that time at this point.
Okay. And at some point, did you have contact with an attorney that purported to represent Jaylin Brazier?
Yes, sir.
And what was the nature of that sort of contact? Obviously, without getting into anything specific, the attorney said, what was the purpose of that contact?
The contact was that Mr. Gary Jones, who was the attorney representing him at that time, had reached out and stated that he had a client that wanted to come in and talk about the missing person that's been on the news, Zion Foster.
Okay. And Gary Jones, you mentioned, was he an attorney that you were familiar with?
Yes.
And is Mr. Jones, as far as you're aware, still with us?
No, sir. Mr. Jones has passed away.
Okay. And at some point, did you ultimately sit down with Mr. Brazier and take a statement from him?
Yes.
And was that on January 19th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
And where was that statement taken?
That was taken at the Detroit Public Safety Headquarters, which is where I'm based out of, at 1301 3rd Street.
Okay. And when I say Mr. Brazier, do you happen to see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
And just for the record, could you point to him and describe what he's wearing?
Yes, he's sitting at the defense table next to his counsel. He's wearing a blue suit. He's got a blue tie and a blue undershirt and black shoes.
Thank you. If the record could reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Sure.
Do you remember what time of day the statement was taken?
I remember it was late in the evening. We had been later in the evening. It wasn't during the daytime. We had waited for him to possibly show on the 18th. That didn't happen. But then on the 19th, is when we ended up talking to him. It was, I don't have the exact time, but I know that it was probably after 5, 6 o'clock.
Okay. And when you initially sat down with Mr. Brazier, who was present for that initial conversation? Was it just you and him, or was anybody else there?
It was myself, him, and there was a detective that came from East Point, Detective Reinhold.
And did you advise Mr. Brazier of anything before speaking with him?
Yes.
And I'm holding what's been marked as proposed Exhibit 38. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
What is proposed Exhibit 38?
So this exhibit is our department form of our constitutional rights that we read to somebody before we conduct interrogation.
Okay, and are those commonly known as the Miranda rights?
Yes.
And can you just read that form for us, please?
Sure. So the form at the top is Constitutional Rights Certificate of Notification, and it reads as follows. I understand that, 1, I have a right to remain silent and that I do not have to answer any questions put to me or make any statements.
And was there any indication from Mr. Brazier as to whether he understood that right?
Yes, so after each right, there are initials that Mr. Brazier made.
Okay. And what's the next right after that?
Number 2 is any statement I make or anything I say will be used against me in a court of law.
And did Mr. Brazier indicate that he understood that right as well?
Yes, sir, he initialed there as well.
And what's the next right?
Number 3, I have the right to an attorney, lawyer, present before and during the time I answer any questions or make any statement.
And did Mr. Brazier indicate whether he understood that right?
Yes, he did as well.
And what's the next right?
Number 4, if I cannot afford an attorney or lawyer, one will be appointed for me without cost by the court prior to any question.
And did Mr. Brazier indicate that he understood that right?
Yes.
And what does the form go on to say from there?
Number 5 says I can decide at any time to exercise my rights and not answer any questions or make any statement, and it also has his initials that he understood that right.
Okay. And is there anything further that the form reflects?
Yes. So underneath, after that part, it reads, I understand that these are my rights under the law. I have not been threatened or promised anything, and I now desire and agree to answer any questions put to me or to make a statement. There's then a place where there's a signature. Mr. Brazier signed that, dated it, and he also indicated the time on there, which was 9 p.m. On here as well, there's 3 boxes that you check depending on which one is applicable. Did you want me to?
Yes, if you could describe that.
Okay. So the first box is this certificate of notification was read to the suspect and he or she had an opportunity to read it. Further, the suspect was given the opportunity to ask any questions that he or she might have concerning the certificate and his or her rights. The next box would be, the suspect is illiterate. He or she has the rights under the law as defined above, explained to him or her, and has agreed to answer questions or make a statement. So neither of those boxes were checked. The final box is the one that was checked, which reads, the suspect can read and write. The rights as defined above have been explained to him or her, and she has agreed to make a voluntary statement, but has refused to sign the certificate.
Okay. And that form that you're handing that's been marked as proposed Exhibit 38, is that a copy of the form that you had in the interview room with Mr. Brazier back on January 19th, 2022?
It appears to be a copy, yes.
And would you say that's a fair and accurate copy?
Yes.
And that has his signature on it?
Yes.
And his initials?
He did end up signing it.
Okay. I would ask to admit proposed Exhibit 38, Your Honor.
No objection.
Already submitted.
Now, did you eventually take a statement from Mr. Brazier?
Yes, sir.
And before taking that statement, did anybody else arrive into the interview room with you?
Yes, so after his rights were read, he did request that he would make the statement, but that he wanted to wait for his attorney, Mr. Jones,
Okay,
to
did you honor
arrive.
that? Did you honor that request?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so Mr. Jones was there before you started asking questions, would that be right?
Yes.
Now, before you started asking Mr. Brazier questions, were there any sort of threats that you made to him to induce him to make a statement?
No.
Were there any sort of promises that you made to Mr. Brazier to induce him to make a statement?
No, there was not.
Was there any sort of force used on Mr. Brazier to induce him to make a statement?
No.
Was there any sort of coercion or trickery that was used on Mr. Brazier to induce him to make a statement?
No.
Did you have any reason to believe that Mr. Brazier had been deprived of any sort of necessary medication before he agreed to make a statement?
No.
Did you have any reason to believe that he had been deprived of adequate sleep before he agreed to make a statement?
No, sir.
Did you have any reason to believe that he had been deprived of adequate food or water before he agreed to make a statement?
No, sir.
And in your experience in law enforcement, going on 25 years now, have you had the occasion to observe people who are under the influence of alcohol or controlled substances?
Yes,
And you sort of know what signs to look for to see if somebody is intoxicated?
correct.
Did you have any reason to believe that Mr. Brazier was intoxicated before you make the statement?
None at all.
Was the statement that you took from him in the presence of Mr. Jones, was that something that was ultimately video recorded?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I will pass it this time if there's no more adherence to the voluntariness statement.
No questions.
Thank you. I am holding what has been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 39. Is it your understanding that the recording of the statement is contained on this disc?
Yes, sir.
And other than content that might not be relevant or admissible in court, is it your understanding that this is a fair and accurate reflection of the statement, other than, I would say, redaction for content that's not admissible in court?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 39.
Okay. All right, it's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now publish?
Yes.
And just a heads up for the court, it's a little over about an hour and 15 minutes, so the plan is to start this this afternoon and then complete it tomorrow morning. If that's
Sure.
okay.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm going to start the video. And Sergeant Jones, Gary Jones, is he any relation to you?
No, sir.
Just a common last name, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Gary, I have to vouch for this. I'm not in the room, so I'm not anybody here, but this is a court. I understand.
Okay, and so stopping the video at 15 seconds into it, is this the interview room where the statement was taken?
Yes, sir.
And this is at the Detroit Police Department headquarters?
Yes.
And the people that we're seeing in the room right now, who are they?
So sitting in the corner is Mr. Brazier. Standing here is Mr. Jones, and a person that walked him in, that was Sergeant Todd Eby, that works at homicide as well.
Okay. And I'm just going to skip ahead to about a minute and 38 seconds into the video.
Oh, no. I put my mask on for her safety, the officer's safety. Put my mask on, so. Okay.
And is this you and Detective Reinhold that had just walked in?
Yes, it is.
Can I put my phone up some foot?
Yeah, just hand it to me.
Okay, you got that back on. How are you, sir? Good, I'm on Detective Reinhold. Reinhold, I talked to you on the phone. Reinhold, damn. So much for that. I got you. I'm opening that one up.
Don't open it up yet.
Yeah, that's simple for a little bit. Yeah. You spoke to me on the phone. I'm surprised we're in here today. I thought we were going to be here yesterday.
What? What here? All right. You okay?
Yeah.
I understand you're gonna kind of give us a layout of what you know about Jaylin?
Yes.
So why don't we start with the last time that you've seen her or were around her or with her?
Now you're going to take this down first.
We're gonna listen and then I'm gonna take it down.
That's how I saw her with Tuesday. She has to
Tuesday, what day?
The 4th? Yeah.
Tuesday, January 4th?
Yes.
Okay.
She had to hang out, chill, talk and everything.
How did she ask?
She had texted me.
Text you?
Yes.
Okay.
We came over to my place, just chilling, everything, smoked, watching YouTube.
How did you get over there?
My car.
Okay, so just imagine like you're writing a book or something. Explain to me, like, how did she get there? Like, you picked her up or she got dropped off?
I picked her up.
Okay.
Then we got to my place, just chilling, watching release on YouTube and everything.
Okay.
We smoked. I do smoke marijuana.
Okay.
We were smoking, kicking it. Just basically a normal thing. For about 2 hours, I'd say. Just relaxing. Around the time it was time for her to go home, I went to my kitchen, let's get some things to drink. And I came back into the living room, and she was saying how she's tired, and she sat down for a minute, laid her head back. So I'm like, okay, because, it's not unusual when you get fatigued, you want to sit, you eat, or, go to sleep. So I gave her a couple minutes, whatever, I say about 20 minutes. And I went to a shaker, and I'm like, hey, all right, I'm ready to go. And she wasn't, responsive, she wasn't anything, so I went to go check her, heartbeat and everything. And it was slow, and her breathing wasn't, normal. It was very super, super faint. And I freaked out. So what I did, I took her. Well, after that, I waited a little bit, like 10 more minutes. And it was still, it was like, sounded like it was getting more faint, or I don't know what was going on with her body, but her heartbeat was getting very, very faint, and her breathing was like non-existent. And mind you,
A little bit of the best thing, yes.
okay. All I smoked, all we had was weed, normal marijuana. So I freaked out. I'm like, okay, well, this looks terrible. This looks very bad. I didn't know what to do. So I took her, I put her into my trunk, and I put her in my trunk, in my car. And I took her to Highland Park and put her inside of a trash can, and then I left.
Hey, where did you said you picked her up, where did you pick her up from?
Turn on.
Okay, in, East Point?
Yes.
Okay. So you pick her up in East Point, you go back to your house? Okay.
It's in Detroit.
The Greenfield address?
Yes.
Okay. And then she was, where was she, you guys were smoking where?
No, I'm on my house.
Oh, just on the couch?
Yes, in the room.
Okay, living room? Okay. And then you guys were just smoking weed?
Yes. That's
And then did she hit you up to smoke weed on the hours?
She hit me up on New Year's, like Happy New Year's and everything.
Okay.
Let's talk about, getting together.
Yep.
Tell us about watching TV, just usual get-together stuff.
Right.
Speaking to each other and everything.
So you guys are in the living room just smoking and she's on the couch. And then, like, walk me through the minute. So she's on the couch. She doesn't have...
She's getting tired, feeling tired. So I went into the kitchen, gave her some drink. I was like, are you ready? And she was laying her head like that. I was like, all right, so I think she might take a nap or whatever.
Right.
Then I'd say about 10 to 15 minutes after that, after me, she's saying, okay, her head back, she's going to sleep out soon.
Yep.
I would go wake her up, hey, are you ready to go? And she wasn't like responding to anything I was doing. Like, at one point, I shook her like this, like, hey, are you okay? Are you good?
Yep.
And
so did she bring the marijuana or did you already?
oh, she got that. Okay,
But so there was nothing else?
No.
Okay. And then you were shaking her, did you grab her without shoulders or how?
Sidebars, excuse me.
Okay, just arms, and then she would be responsive? Okay. And then what did you do? So you said like 10 minutes later or something like that? What did you do after that?
I assumed she was dead.
Okay.
Because, that's what it looks like. I freaked out and basically after I put her into my trunk and I moved her. So I was like, okay, this looks as though I just killed somebody or something, And I moved her body, took it to Highland Park. Set her inside of the trash can over there.
Did you just like grab her off the couch where she was, or was she in anything, or?
It's just, I actually went.
Okay, just as she was. And then you took her to Highland Park somewhere?
Yes.
Do you have any idea where?
I know how to get there in the complex there. Little Caesars is a little, I don't know what the stores are, but it's like right there. I think
is there a Burger King there?
Oh, Wendy's across the street.
Yeah, that's on the.
That's a burger.
I think that's on the other side. You turn right on Woodward. The Little Caesars is on your left, and then you turn down the street on the right.
Yes.
And was it like the first street, second street?
It was where the gas station is. There's the gas station. There's the Little Caesars here. The left turn right there is the street I was on, and there's a trash can right there.
What kind of trash can?
There's the normal, the green trash cans.
Like a green trash can that you have at your house that you wheel out to the curb, or like a trash can that a business has?
I'd say that's probably a business trash can.
So it's about how big?
Probably up to top side of the table.
Okay, and what color was it?
Green.
It was green?
Yes.
Light green, dark green, do you remember?
I believe it's light green.
Okay, and was it on your right side or your left side?
My left.
On your left when you went down the street?
Yes.
So if you turn right south on Woodward, you got the gas station on your left. Little Caesars is on the end.
That's your head to that left there.
So did you turn between the gas station and Little Caesars?
Yes.
In that little street, you turn left.
Yes.
Okay. And then did someone right in that lot?
Yep.
Okay. Were you guys? I mean, was there any other plan or anything when you were there? I mean, you just going to get her, come back, just smoke weed or something?
Yeah,
like
it's plans to chill out, take her back home, and that was supposed to be it.
And I mean, because you hung out before, right? And then I think her friend.
One time I had the last time previous before that I seen her, she came to my girlfriend's hair.
Yep.
And before that was a year prior. She gave $20 to take her to her boyfriend's house. And before that, around that same time, took her and her friend went to a skating rink. I would say 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
But the most recent is May when she came to bring my girlfriend's hair, and that's what Tuesday.
Okay, so what you guys weren't, so just the plan was you were going to just go pick her up, you guys were just going to smoke some weed,
hang out,
and then you were going to bring her back?
Yes.
Were you arguing or anything?
No, nothing like that. She was telling me about how her mom was doing, because last time I spoke to her, her mom told me some things. Apparently she's grandmother or whatever. She told me about her boyfriend, how they had probably something going on, her coming up with something. And just what she had planned going on, she's talking about her apartment, her and her boyfriend going to prom, just the dominoes that she had in place for what she was planning to do.
Okay. But there was no issue with you guys, right?
No, not at all.
Did she smoke your weed, or did you smoke her weed, or what did you guys
smoke mine?
Okay. smoke yours?
Yes.
Did she smoke hers?
It
Or
was.
did you smoke yours?
We smoked it together, basically. So she brought hers, I had mine. We just put together hers, smoked it together.
Did you say on me? You were both
She came to do my girlfriend therapy.
Okay, then what was her plan? That night, did she tell you this is what we would have done?
She was talking about money that she had to pick up from somebody, or maybe it was somebody, something to do with her, but
Okay.
we didn't really get into detail there.
And then she just, whatever clothes she had on at the time is the way she went.
Yeah, the way she came.
No bangs, no tape, no nothing like that?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what, was there anything else in the trunk?
No.
Okay. So her shoes, you got her feet on, just put it in there, freaked out. Okay. But there was no promises made by her or nothing like that. That was it, just strictly me going somewhere.
That was it.
All right.
What time did you get back to your house approximately? When you first picked her up?
I'd say maybe 11 or 11:30.
Okay. And then you said, when you picked her up, you remember what time you picked her up?
I think it was getting close to 11, so maybe like 10:50 or something.
Okay, so somewhere at 10 o'clock, about 11:30, and then you smoked for a couple hours.
I'd say about an hour and a half specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you notice,
Need to figure out something. Who was with you when you picked her up? In the car?
Just me and her. I had my kids with me. Yeah, my boys, because before that, we took our mom to work.
so you had your two babies.
Yes, my youngest, my two boys, Sean and
So they
I.
were at the house too?
Yes.
So that was your after.
Yes.
All right, so you had the kids and her, so you bring the kids back to the house too. So where are the kids at when you guys are smoking?
I put them up in the bed.
They go upstairs, they go to bed.
Okay.
All right. So then you notice her looking sleepy, looking tired, you attempt to wake her up, and then you describe that you had felt her chest and she had a faint heartbeat. Do you have any medical experience? So describe to me how you would say like faint heartbeat or shallow breathing or anything like that.
Okay, well, let's say like if you're resting and falling asleep, you can feel the exhaust in your nose, you can see your chest moving and everything.
Okay.
And it's for the heartbeat, like literally, through my hand here, you can feel your heartbeat. If you're in here, you can feel your heartbeat.
So you could still feel her heartbeat at that point?
Yes.
Why didn't you call EMS?
I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if it was something on my weed or the weed that she had. I didn't know what was causing that, but I knew what it, at the time, what it looked like to me. I said, oh my God, it just didn't look good. I just freaked out.
All right, have you and her ever had, I understand they say you guys are cousins, but you're not really cousins, like blood related, like that, right? Have you ever been in a relationship together
Never.
at any point?
Never.
Nothing went on that night?
Never.
So there would be none of your DNA or anything like that would be in areas
Nothing
on
at
her?
all. Nothing at all.
Then do you remember what she was wearing when you picked her up?
She just had on her black leggings and a black shirt.
Black shirt and black leggings?
Yes.
So when you picked her up, you didn't use a blanket or wrap her in anything?
She just came outside. That's just how she.
No, I'm saying after when you picked her up and you get back home, when you find her unresponsive, you didn't wrap her in anything or put a sheet or a blanket over her before you placed her in your trunk?
No, I just carried her into the trunk.
Okay. How long after the last time you saw her, so how much time do you think now after you felt her, the shallow breathing, before you decided to take her and the panic set in a little bit and you put her in the trunk?
At least 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay. And then when you left, where were your kids at?
They were sleeping.
You left them at the house alone?
Yes.
When you left? Okay, so then what route did you take?
There's the freeway from my house.
So you're on Greenfield?
Yes.
You go north or south?
Going towards, I think it's north, going towards 8 Mile.
Okay, so you go north on Greenfield to what?
Where that gas station's on Greenfield, and it's a freeway there.
And what freeway is that?
Is that James Griffin Thompson?
Okay,
And just took that straight to Davidson and Allen Park.
you took that to Davison, and then you took Davison to what?
Up to the Highland Park area right there.
Okay.
Like you come up, there's Wendy's and stuff for everything right there.
Right, so did you make it all the way to the Wendy's, or did you turn before that? Like if I pull up that on my phone, that map area, can you describe your route to me?
Yeah, probably.
So this is Davison, right, here, and then this is where you would come up to Woodward?
And that's the Little Caesars here?
Yep.
This is in the Highland Park area?
Yeah.
Okay,
So you would have turned from Davison, you would have come up this way, and you turned right?
yes, it came
Okay.
here. There's Little Caesars, and
Okay.
it looks like a lot right here, 2 trash cans.
There's a lot right here.
Like, here's Little Caesars,
Yeah.
there's a complex right here. It's like, there's two of the big trash cans, like, right here. In this zone here.
You gotta go past, that's an L shape. So you got Little Caesars out here, and then the building goes like this, right?
Yeah.
Little Caesars and the building's like this?
Yes.
So is it past the building, the
Yes.
trash cans?
Yep, on the side of that.
And then what's in between the building, trash cans, and then what's next?
And this building, there's an alley there.
Okay.
It's a big old alley, I guess. And then there's trash cans.
Okay, so you go past the building, past the alley, just past the alley, there's two cans?
Yes.
Is it the big metal dumpsters?
Yes.
Okay, so not like the wheelie ones, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Big green ones.
Yeah, that are about like this tall.
Huge ones.
Okay,
Mhm.
right. So I got, so to clear some stuff up, because I have some messages and stuff like that, that maybe it was a dating relationship or something like that. So that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You know what?
When all this started,
Yeah.
Sierra, who's Zion's mom,
Okay.
was talking to Zion, one of Zion's mutual friends, no other mutual friend through Zion. The text message that started circulating around that okay, I was talking to my cousin was between me and Alima, which is our mutual friend through Zion.
Okay. And those were in October and November, correct?
Yes.
So, I'm a little confused. So was that message, were you trying to get with Alina, the friend?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what it was.
Yes.
So you were trying to have a relationship.
Never.
And never had a relationship. And
Never.
never attempted to have a relationship that night. Tell me about, okay, so you're in the family room with the couch, right? There's a table. Did you set a table on the couch?
Yeah, that table broke during me and one of my girlfriend's arguments. So
Okay.
the frame of that table was in our backyard, but when Zion was over, we don't have a TV, so I called it just get over on the couch and TV.
Okay, so that happened with an argument with
We might be like kiss off.
Okay, I got you. When was that?
Like 2 months ago, 2 months prior to this, basically.
Okay,
So a little before New Year's.
That's a sit down in the backyard?
Yeah.
Okay, just before New Year?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Okay. Well, you got the map there?
Yeah, so here's let me get that open now. This is Davidson. So show me where you would go.
So this is Davidson. So there's I know Wendy's. I think you're still see this.
So you see Wendy's here?
Okay, Wendy's. The freeway from is over here, actually. Because on this side, driving the Wendy's is to my right, and the Little Caesars is to my left.
Okay.
So it would be more like this, right?
Okay.
It's the Wendy's, and the Little Caesars piece is really right. So let's say this is my car, and you come here, and let's say, okay, the Little Caesars, the complex is like an L, and right here there's an alley, and then these are the two dumpsters. So, yeah.
I'm going to stop the video briefly at 20 minutes and 46 seconds. Sergeant, that map that was discussed, did you retain a copy of that?
Yes, sir.
And I'm holding what's been marked as proposed exhibit 20. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, proposed exhibit 40. Is proposed exhibit 40 a copy of the map where the defendant made an indication of the area where he took Zion's body?
Yes, sir.
And is that, would you say, a fair and accurate copy of the actual document that he drew on in your presence?
Yes.
I'd move to admit exhibit 40.
Okay. Submitted?
And may I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
And I just want to go down to this area. So is this area here where the circle is that the area that he identified?
Yes, that's the area that he drew the line down and identified and circled.
Okay, and this road here where my cursor is, it's going mostly up and down. What road is that?
That is the Davison Freeway.
Okay, and what about this road that goes from the lower left-hand corner up to the higher right-hand corner?
That would be Woodward.
Okay. And I just want to briefly show you what's been admitted as Exhibit 19, and specifically page... I'm sorry, 1 second. Okay, page 12. Sorry. You see on page 12 this area where there's a yellow marker?
Yes.
Going back to page, exhibit 40, that area, is that the same as this area?
No.
Okay. Where would that area with the yellow marker be on this?
Yeah, kind of like where your cursor is right now. Yeah.
So across the street.
Yeah, it was on the other corner.
Okay. I'm gonna resume the video at 20 minutes and 46 seconds.
Her out of the trunk. Did you check again to see if she was responsive or nothing? Was there anything?
I'm still
Was anything happening? Was there? So it just looked like she was asleep, but she wasn't waking up, and you couldn't feel nothing.
Now, when you opened the trunk and took her out to the dumpster, what did she look like? Was she breathing, not breathing? Did you check, or you just
I was
paying
still
her
paying
out?
and I just put her over.
Okay.
As for how she looked like as if she was asleep. And same like I said, like no visible like movements of breath or anything, no sound, no anything.
What? Was she? Did she still have her shoes on?
Yes.
So
She had on Crocs. So yeah.
Crocs. What color were they?
Black or gray. One of
Did
those.
she have any of her? Was her work attire or anything like that? Was there anything else in the trunk when you put it? Did you have to take anything out of the trunk to put her in the trunk?
No.
The trunk was empty.
No, I was empty. I had like my tires in there, some coolant, some of my old clothes, because at one point I lived in my car.
Okay.
Just a bunch of junk in the trunk and everything, but
Okay.
I didn't move anything.
Where is her phone?
She had her phone. No. Yeah, she had her phone, and I took her there. And that's basically it.
She had her phone where?
She'd have it in her pocket, or she'd keep it like tucked or whatever, like over here.
So did you notice where it was?
No.
Or did you take the phone with you and throw the phone in the dumpster? Is my question.
No, if it was on her, it would still be
So
on.
you don't know where her phone is then?
No.
What kind of phone did she have?
She has an iPhone.
iPhone?
Yeah.
Do you know what color it is?
No, she had a case.
What color was the case?
I think it's one of the multicolored ones. I don't know, maybe it's a custom one with like pictures, or just like multicolored.
So, did you ever touch your phone?
No.
You never touched that, no?
No.
So, there'd be no reason why your DNA or fingerprints would be on anything like
At all.
that? Okay. And you saw it though, right?
Yeah, she had her phone. At one point, she was talking to somebody on her phone.
Okay. And you said there was a case?
Yes.
Was the case on it last time you saw it?
Last time I saw her with it, yeah, there was a case on it.
Okay.
Where do you get your marijuana from?
The dispensary. Oh, it's called, it's in Ferndale. I'm trying to think of the damn name. Lives in Ferndale.
L-I-V-S?
Yes, LIVS.
Is there like only one of those in Ferndale? Or
Yeah, I know.
like McDonald's and there's 20 of them?
No, just the one that I
Do you
know.
know what street it's on?
No, but I know to get there.
So you normally go, that's where you normally go to purchase it?
Yes.
When did you purchase the marijuana you had that night?
Months ahead of time.
Months?
Usually, because I have seizures. So, and when I get really stressed, my heart calculations and heart murmur, so it messes with me. So I'm usually just have weed just to think for later for if I need it
So you have
later.
enough weed for months when you buy it?
Not for months, but let's say like $80 worth.
Okay. So you had bought that weed a couple months prior to.
Yes.
So was that like normal? If she knew she wanted to come smoke some weed, she would come meet up with you to smoke weed?
She'd smoke with multiple, like different people, but if she has to hang out with her, yeah, definitely.
Okay. And then where did she get her weed from?
I have no idea.
What did it look like when she brought it over?
Hers, it had like purple bits on it.
Okay, yeah.
Like, there's like the leaves like kind of green, a little bit purple.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to mine, it's like, I'll say kind of like shinier. I don't know. Kind of try to describe it to you.
Kind of sort of, I don't know, does that mean like
Did it have, was it a particular strain?
The one I had was from the dispensary. The name of it was what? It was sativa. I think that's the strain. Yeah, sativa from the dispensary. I don't know what hers was.
I mean, when she pulled it out, how did she have it?
It was in a bag, just a little small little Ziploc bag.
Ziploc bag?
Yeah, not like a zipper. It's when you put a sandwich in, you fold plastic over one of those.
Is that how it comes from Libs?
No, from Lives, they give it to you in a whole little package.
In a package?
Like the silver zip type package. Yeah, you open it and you can just put it wherever you want to put
And
it.
you guys didn't, I don't care if you did, it just helps me to understand if there was something else in there. Is there any time that you ever like add something to it?
No, not at all.
No.
Just bare, raw, what I would get from
So then
Lives.
what do you use to smoke it?
We had, they're called camel wraps. They're like hemp rolls. Kind of like, like a Black and Mild.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just,
They're the wrappers.
you just wrap it.
Okay.
So I had a question back to the cell phone. So, before this all happened on the couch, when was the last time you saw her cell phone?
Before I went into the kitchen, she was talking to somebody. She was texting somebody.
Okay, so she was talking to or texting or talking to somebody?
Yes.
And then you saw that she was texting or talking, and that's the last time you saw her phone?
Yeah.
And
I
you
can't
didn't, okay, and you did not take it out, you didn't touch it after, you didn't do anything with it?
No.
Okay, because I mean, it was charged, you know what I'm saying, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, where's the phone at, you know what I'm saying? So, we would like to know where that's at too, obviously. So, but you never touched it, you think she had it on her still? Okay.
Have you been back out to that dumpster?
No.
So you haven't been back over into that area since that day?
At all.
Have you told anybody else what dumpster to go look at?
No, just color.
Just what?
Just, well, yeah.
Okay, so you don't know if she's still in the dumpster or not in the dumpster?
Not at all.
So you didn't tell anybody else besides Mr. Jones that she was in a dumpster or going around the park anywhere?
Well, that's a lot. Recently, I told my mom because she was with me when I was talking to him. So my mom also knew this.
Okay, so your mom knew?
Yes.
Okay, so you told your mom before you told?
No, together.
Okay, together. But you didn't tell any other family members or anything like that?
Not at all.
So no aunts, uncles, grandma, grandfathers, nobody? Just
No.
okay.
It's okay if you did. Okay, we're just trying to make sure everything is piecing together.
I think the major question is, when did you tell me about the dumpster incident?
This is very recent. What's today?
Today's Wednesday.
The last time that I came to see you, not this morning, but the last time I talked to you, the last time I told you.
In the evening time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that would have been after we were supposed to meet. He popped back up.
Well, I thought you guys were trying to get a hold of somebody over the weekend, or no? No?
We did. We got in touch with
Okay.
Yeah, you were trying to get hold of the prosecutor.
And then tried to get in touch with somebody over number 8.
Okay.
So we tried multiple people at number 8.
Yeah, so you just told them, you just found this out yesterday, or did you find out last week? And that's why you're trying to find the prosecutor over the weekend?
No, I just found out over the weekend with the football games.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
when the Rams were playing? Right, so that was Monday.
Oh, gotcha.
But they engaged me. When was that? When did you come first see me?
I would think that's
Would that be Saturday?
or Friday.
Yeah. So I think it was Saturday though.
Okay.
I would say Saturday because then I said it's kind of hard to get somebody on a Saturday.
Right.
So I called Rana Hadid, LaDonna Logan. I called Sarah DeYoung,
Okay.
and we tried to get in touch with Pat Musket. I didn't have a cell for Pat. So we tried that over the weekend.
Okay. And I'm trying, I gotta ask you these because I'm trying to verify the information that we have. So I'm giving you a fair chance. I want to ask you these questions because obviously there's a lot that's going on out there right now. You know what I'm saying? So, people are saying this and that, and that's why I want to ask you about the phone and, when did you find out, and did you tell anybody else in the family?
Nobody at all.
Well, we're getting other reports, I need to straighten them out, you know what I'm saying? So, you only told your mom, you didn't tell anybody else?
No.
Okay.
And we tried to take Scott too.
Yeah.
But she was in trial on Monday. We tried Thursday, Tuesday.
Right.
We tried her on Tuesday. Couldn't get her either.
Okay. So Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So we tried for multiple days.
But again, there's a lot coming in, and just like we asked you, like we don't care what your relationship is, but we gotta know.
Right.
You know, we gotta know, and that will knock out questions and whatever. So, I mean, we're here. We just want to know,
Right.
and we see you're here, but for us to keep going on our investigation, we gotta know if you're lying, we're just at a dead end again. You know what I'm saying? That ain't gonna help you, and it ain't gonna help us. So, just keep in mind when I'm asking you, it's not that you did anything wrong, but we need to know those answers because we're being inundated with tips, family members, both sides of the family.
Well, the video that you got from the neighbor across the street was due to our doing. Because when I talked with him, I said, you need to canvass the area of anyone that might have a ring doorbell in your area. That's fine. So that's what that was. And so he, I think either your mom or who engaged the neighbor?
My mother.
Got the neighbor.
I wasn't home.
And this is for the camera in East Point?
Showing his vehicle.
Okay.
You know, driving, them moving the vehicle.
Yeah, and I asked you about that, and you said, what? That wasn't me, that wasn't my car, or whatever. So I'm trying to establish a rapport after, we're talking, you know what I mean? So we already do this, but it doesn't help you if we gotta work on it for 3 more days to prove, you know what I mean, that it was a lie, it was your car, you know what I'm saying? And you've already talked to him, so it makes no sense. So when I asked you, was there any other relationship gonna happen with Zion between the two? Nothing at all. You weren't interested in that, you never talked about it, never thought about it, never did that?
Not at all.
Okay? And then be very careful, this is another question. With your cell phone, did you ever touch your cell phone that night?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay. So, these I just gotta know for sure, because we don't want to go down one road, but we need to be on another road, you know what I'm saying? And just get this on.
I'm going to pause the video in 33 minutes and 7 seconds to do it.
No, we're just about 4 o'clock. As indicated, we have staff every day about 4 o'clock.